And we're live! Yay! Always like when the technology works. Welcome everyone to One More Page Books, the virtual space. I'm Amanda. I'm from One More Page, and I'm going to be your host for this evening as we welcome the amazing Jen DeLuca and Meg Cabot to our virtual space. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'll get out of your hair in a second, but I'm going to introduce you first, if that's okay. Just in case anyone stumbled across this virtual event who doesn't know who you are somehow.
Absolutely.
Perfect. We're going to start with our in-conversationalist for tonight, Jen DeLuca. Jen was born and raised near Richmond, Virginia, but now lives in Arizona with her husband and a house full of rescue pets. She loves latte-flavored lattes, hokey football, and the Oxford comma. And her first two novels, Well Met and Well Played, and of course now her third novel, which comes out just next week, Well Matched, was inspired by her time volunteering as a pub wench with her local Renaissance fair. I can also confirm she's very fun to bring to a Renaissance fair because she once came to one of our bookseller bachelorette parties at a Renaissance fair. So welcome, Jen.
It was epic. It was epic.
Amazing. We had a great time. That's a pro tip for everyone. Bring any visiting authors to a Renaissance fair on a bachelorette party.
Definitely. It can't be topped. It can't be topped.
And then, of course, we have the guest of honor for the evening, the amazing Meg Cabot. Meg's many books for both adults and tweens and teens have included multiple global and #1 New York Times bestsellers, selling over 25 million copies worldwide. I'm pretty sure I've personally bought like a third of those. The Princess Diaries series is published in more than 38 countries and was made into several hit films by Disney. Meg is still waiting for her real parents, the king and queen, to restore her to her rightful throne, but I'm sure it's coming any second now. And she currently lives in Key West, Florida with her husband and various cats. She's your hero and mine, Meg Cabot.
Aw, thank you. That's so sweet.
Yay.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here. And thank you all. Thank you, Jen. This is going to be really fun. Thank you.
It's going to be amazing. So you guys have fun. Everyone else, I'll be keeping an eye on the comments. If you have questions, feel free to ask them there. We'll take them at the end of the chat, but I'll keep an eye on them and sort of help collaborate or collect them. So if it's a burning question, pop it in now. And have fun, you two.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. This is so cool. Hi, Meg. How are you?
Well, hi, Jen. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for this. I can't wait to talk about your new book, which I just finished, and I'm very excited about. Well Matched. It was amazing.
Thank you so much. But I think first I had to congratulate you on the release of No Words, kind of the delayed release, right? Because it ended up getting...
I know. It took so long to get this into my hands because we had a little supply chain issue. Oh yes, you got yours too. Fantastic.
So you had the whole like supply chain issue. Is that what happened to delay the...
I know. It was crazy. I don't know where it was delayed, if it was one of those books that was stuck in the shipping supply container on the docks, or if it was just a printer delay. But those are real. So
it is. I think I saw an agent on Twitter talking about it, saying something like that they had 2 or 3 clients whose books were like currently on a container ship. And it was like, can we fly a helicopter there to like, can we do a release party on the container ship? Is that a thing? I'm like, that could actually be kind of fun, but
I would actually enjoy that. It'd be kind of cool. You always see in all those fight scenes in the Marvel movies where they're, battling around the shipping containers. And instead, we should do something fun and peaceful, like a book signing party.
Like a book signing, like a big party or something. I mean, I think that's the wave of the future. And I think we should probably have a conversation with somebody about it.
Exactly. Open one of those up and see what's inside.
Right, exactly. It's just... like the world is just so different, lately. And honestly, that was one reason I really loved reading your book, because it was just such a fun, like, escape. And especially getting to go to a book festival, which, is something that, things are starting to open up again. And I think we're starting to look forward to those happening again, finally. But, for a long time now, we've all been kind of stuck in our houses. And so many things have been virtual. Have you done a lot of virtual events? Do you think that? What do you think about those compared to doing them in person?
I have been doing a lot of virtual events. This is actually my second book that has come out during the pandemic. I think actually you've had a couple.
Yeah.
This is going to
be my second one too.
Yeah. So we're getting to be old hands at this. This is we're getting used to it. But I really missed doing book festivals, and I've been doing them for, oh my God, I don't want to say it, but like 20 years. And so it was really unusual to not be able to go to them. And also now I'm on the board of a book festival here in Key West. I'm on the board of the Key West Literary Seminar. So we were planning our book festival and getting it all ready to go. And then of course it was canceled and we couldn't have it. So I was really missing book festivals. So that's why I ended up setting this new book, which I'm just going to be honest with you all, was supposed to be set at a fireman convention. I know that.
Wait a minute.
I know. I'm giving you the real story. When I originally planned this book, it was going to be about a totally different character, and she was going to go to they actually do yearly have a fireman convention here in Key West, and I have a friend, and that's where she, you don't want to, let me just say, if you live on an island and you do Tinder, everybody, because
your choices are limited.
Yeah, your choices are limited. So she saves up her energy.
Oh my God.
For one time a year when it's the fireman convention. And I was like, yes, this is gonna be so great. But I've never been to the fireman convention. So I was like, I gotta go. I'm gonna have to go to check it out. Well, of course we didn't have it because of the pandemic. So I was like, I gotta change this book. And I miss book festivals, so I'm going to set it at a book festival, and I'm going to write about all the things that I really miss. But I got to give it a twist, and the twist is that the author who's going to the book festival is really not happy to go because she doesn't want to see this guy who is her arch nemesis, rival author, and she doesn't think he's coming. But then, of course, she gets there, and who walks in? The doors of the airport. The minute she steps off the plane, it's him, and she's super mad. And it's a hate to love. Maybe I'm not going to give away the spoiler.
Well, I mean,
I know it is a romance, so yeah. All right, let's just say. But yeah, so that's why I had so much fun writing about it, and I threw in a lot of the stuff that I was missing. And I think you were missing too. We were all missing it. Anybody who loves books, who likes to go to book festivals and has been fortunate enough to been to one, will recognize many of the things in this book.
So are there a lot of sexy boat tours on your boat in your
okay, so for real, at the Key West Literary Seminar, we do send our authors out on a very cool boat. It's not like the boat in my book. My book's a very fancy catamaran. Ours is an antique schooner. It's really nice. And if you come to Key West, you can actually go out. It's called the Hindu.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna need to.
You need to come. We'll go when you come. Yeah. That is one of the perks of being invited to the Key West Literary Seminar. The authors get to. They don't get paid the stipends like the author. They do get paid a stipend, but not this. Joe gets paid $10,000 to come to this. And as
I will say, my jaw dropped, and I was like, "Wow, wait a second."
She gets paid quite and that's part of the plot of the book, because she's like, I get paid so much to go to this festival. I wonder why.
There's a reason.
There is a reason, yes. And the rest of the authors are like, wait, I didn't get paid that much. What's happening? So that is part of the plot of the book. But no, we do not pay our authors because, by the way, it's Key West. So you're getting to come to Key West in January and stay in a very fancy hotel. And I mean, that's being flown first class and all the stuff. So yeah, I did actually. Gosh, I hope nobody from the Key West Literary Seminar is watching this right now, because they're going to be like, you literally just stole everything from the seminar schedule and stuck it in your book. But yes, I did.
So you know what? That's okay. I mean, I actually, when I read my first book, Met, I literally ripped it off from.
I was just about to say, as somebody who writes about Renaissance fairs, which I was going to ask you, is that something that when you were experiencing the pandemic, you took comfort in? Because you got to write, because I just finished Well Matched, which was amazing and adorable. And I had so much fun reading it. I have never been to a Renaissance fair.
Oh my gosh.
I've never been to one.
Absolutely should go.
I actually, when I first started reading your book, I was like, I'm a mundane, which I learned the word mundane from your book. Mm-hmm. And a mundane is somebody who
who doesn't wear a costume, who doesn't go, who's not part of kind of that life, that fair life.
That's definitely definitely me. Yeah. However, I when I first started the book, I was like, I will never go to one of these. This is the weirdest thing. But then as the book went on, I was like, this is so cute. I love it. I'm definitely going. And there's a part of your book where something happens. I'm not going to say what it is, where your heroine, who I think is a mundane, she worries about that she might be a mundane, kind of gets transformed, and maybe I was like, oh, I could see that happening to me. I
You
was
you definitely
like,
get swept up
I could
in the
see.
scene. I
Yeah.
went for many years as a patron before, just
Okay.
going and enjoying the day before I volunteered. And one of the times that we went, I was like, I want a freaking costume. And so I ended up putting way too much money on a credit card. And I ended up with this great
Oh.
female pirate costume, and it's
Oh
awesome.
my God.
But,
It was super fun. It's a very fun book.
but yeah, I mean, you definitely get caught up in it, and yeah, writing that book during the pandemic was really helpful for me, because it was the third book in a series, so it was characters that I already knew pretty well, but just kind of something that you probably know a little bit about too.
I want to say that you don't need to have read any of the
Oh,
previous
thank
books.
you.
I mean, I
That's
was
good to know.
familiar with them. I haven't read them like super closely, but I just dove in and I was like, I totally can understand what's happening in that book.
Good.
You don't
That's
have to
good
read.
to know, 'cause
And I
that's
did that with this book. Like, you don't have to have read any of the previous books and I think that's important, because people, I think, also maybe not necessarily due to the pandemic, but I think people are commitment phobic at this point. Like, you just want to
Absolutely.
grab something and just take a few hours off and not have to commit to anything. And I thought that you did a very good job with that, because I could understand it without being super familiar with everything in your past
Thank
books.
you. And I'll say the same thing about yours, about No Words, because actually I read No Words first, and I have your other two on hold at the library, because it was those two were like, I need to read those because I wanted to read them because they're Florida based. And I love Florida based stuff, and so they've always been like on my TBR, on my list, which we all know our lists are incredibly long.
Well, and also, some of us don't remember anything that we've read. Like me, I was like,
that too, right?
I know I read her other books, but I don't remember them at all. But I didn't have to.
Yeah,
so that was fun.
So that's definitely something that it's nice to know that, because you definitely, when you're writing it, you have that in mind, that you want to make sure it's accessible to everybody.
There you go. Okay.
And so yeah, so picking up picking up this one, your current one, not having read the first two, was very simple and very easy to follow, and but it was neat because I could tell that like people were being folded in from the other books, and that was kind of cool. And I love that, I love doing that as a writer and as a reader, getting to kind of check up on couples that you got to watch fall in love, and then you get to see how they're doing, and that's always fun.
And if you like that, which I could tell you were doing in Well Matched, then it's there. But if you have no idea because you don't remember anymore,
right,
because you consumed so much wine during the pandemic, then it's fine. You're like, oh, this is interesting, and I don't know what's happening.
Who these people are.
Because you've been to so many Ren fairs in the past or book festivals, you're like, oh, okay, but this is good too. It's very cute. So that was good. So the other thing that's happening in my book that I wanted to talk to you about, I think, was that the heroine has massive writer's block.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that happened to you at all during the pandemic while you were
big time. Although I will say the weird thing is I'm having it more now than I did.
Oh, I think that's totally normal.
And I think because I think a lot of us, like creative type people, were kind of like, okay, we're going to put our heads down and we're going to work through this pandemic, and got through the first year or so. But now that it's been, 18 months and we're still kind of stuck in this rut. I wrote most of Well Matched in 2020. And for the most part, I don't want to say it was easy, because nothing's ever easy, but it was kind of comforting because it was characters that I knew, and it was situations that I knew, and I was really excited to write this couple, so it was really fun to write. But I would have days where I'd be plowing through and I'd be writing thousands of words. I'd be feeling really good about it. And then I would have days where I would, eat potato chips and stare at the wall for 12 hours. Like, I mean, we were so not, some people are like learning new languages during the pandemic, and I did learn how to make pasta, and that was about it. Otherwise, we watched a lot of Netflix, and my husband played The Witcher 3 like twice on the PS4, and I played a lot of Animal Crossing. Like, it was totally not like productive uses of our time at all.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you do during all of this?
I think that sounds very familiar. I think that for a lot of us, we were in a crisis. So when you're in a crisis, you definitely have this kind of momentum, and you're like, okay, I'm going to work, and we're all in this together, and we're all going to work. And now that the crisis it's not over by any means, but it's gotten less, we're in less of a crisis mode. And I think that maybe we exerted so much adrenaline that we're feeling a little drained. And so, and certainly Jo in the book, she has terrible writer's block because of something that Will, who's the hero, or the anti-hero, whoever you may be in the book, has said about her writing. And so she's feeling really insecure, and she can't write. She can write, but she can't write the series or the things that she's actually getting paid to do. Which is the thing that everyone wants her to write. She is writing a children's book series about cats. And she has book 27 is due, and she cannot write it. Yeah, number 27. Oh, and she's, not going to get paid until she turns it in. But meanwhile, she can write other stuff, but it's not stuff anybody wants to. In the publishing industry.
Yeah, she wants to kind of branch out, but then
a little bit. But but she, she still loves the series, but she doesn't really want to write Kitty Cats number 27. And she just needs to kind of get out there and maybe experience some new stuff, which is something that we really still aren't at a place that we can do. Although I think you're going somewhere. I just heard you're going to Las Vegas.
I am going to be at the Las Vegas Book Festival next weekend. Next weekend? Yeah, the 22nd, 23rd, something like that. Next Saturday.
Oh, that's exciting. Sometimes all you need, I think sometimes all you need is a little inspiration to get over that kind of writer's block that she has. And of course, she ends up getting that, not to give away a spoiler, by going to this book festival and maybe encountering this really hot guy that she was super mad at.
Maybe. I mean,
we don't want to
say. Romance. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't happen. But
maybe.
I feel like chances are good.
So I think for some of us who are having, this terrible kind of feeling that, gosh, we got through this horrible thing and yet we're not feeling inspired to keep going. Maybe that's what we need is, maybe to stop Netflixing and chilling so much and get out there and do something else.
And try to get out there.
But I know the feeling like I am not going to start a new exercise regime right now. That is not something I feel motivated to do, which I know that your heroine possibly starts doing in your book, but I'm like, oh no, I might start eating like a new bag of M&Ms. That is something
that's, and that's enough change. I think that's as much change as you really need to do.
No, but volunteering I think is a good thing. I've been volunteering at my local high school with mentoring a kid and possibly might adopt a new pet, which is also something that your heroine does. I was like, whoa, she's doing all the things that I'm doing. This is creepy. Does Jen live in my computer and read all my emails? What's happening? Yeah.
So how many cats do you have?
Right now I have one cat that lives in my neighborhood that we all feed.
Okay.
So it's technically not my official cat. So I need to get my own official cat, and that's something I'm working on. But Fluffy is the neighborhood cat, and she really belongs to everyone. She's very fluffy. She's cool. Beautiful, but no, she's not technically mine. So, yeah. And there's a lot of cats in the book, which is why Jen's bringing this up, because the heroine writes books about
so many cat puns. So many cat puns in this book.
Sorry about that. I apologize officially.
Love it.
Yeah. It was a dark time. When
whatever gets you through, right?
When the only thing that would cheer you up was cat puns.
So what are you adopting pet wise?
I put in an application for just any cat that is older, that they're, and this is the other thing that creeps me out, because I'm like, this is in Jen's book that I just read.
Highly recommend though. But that's one of the things that we've done recently. We have one of my cats. We made the mistake of going to PetSmart one day when they were doing an adoption event, and they were BOGO on adult cats. So we came home with 3 cats that day.
Is that buy one on cats? It was buy one get one free.
Yes, on
my God, that's so
if you adopted one, they would waive the adoption fee on a second one, because they had, they're trying to clear adult cats out of the shelter because they don't get adopted as quickly as kittens do. So we were like, sure, back the car up, let's just do it. And we went home with 3 cats that did not know each other. So that was a hurdle in itself. But one of the cats that we adopted was 8 years old. Yeah. And she was, her owner had passed away, and she got, pawned off on the shelter, and she was not happy about it. So she was very happy to be adopted. But I think that's such a good thing to do. It's such a good thing to bring an older cat. I totally do too.
Yeah. And that was our last cat. And I personally think she was the best cat we've ever had. And she lived, we were really afraid she was not going to live a long time. She was very sickly, but she started getting better as soon as we got her into our house. She got better and
Yeah.
better. And she didn't live, she lived for about 5 or 6 years, which were the best
that's
cat
awesome.
years that I've ever experienced with a cat. So I'm definitely up for doing it again. So I think that if you're thinking about adopting, get an older cat. Get an older
Definitely.
cat.
Get an older cat, get an older pet. If you want a dog, get an older dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
because you're doing an
they do a lot
amazing
of
thing.
sleeping.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yeah, that's something that we're looking into doing.
Back to books. Yes.
Back to books. Sorry, going off on a tangent.
My fault.
That's okay. No, believe me, I could talk about cats for a ridiculous amount of time. But so one thing that I wanted to ask you, so Joe writes for kids, and I know that you've written like a ton of stuff like for kids. You've written for like basically all age groups. Like
yeah.
And that's, I'm just so fascinated by that because I currently all I write is adult, and I've talked to people about writing YA before, and it's just I don't feel like it's a voice that I feel like I can write. What, like, I don't know, like what makes you decide which kind of voice you're going to write in, I guess is kind of the question that I want to ask you. Like, I just find it so cool because like you can kind of switch the age groups around, or decide which genre or which age group speaks to you the most.
Yeah. First of all, I think you could very easily do YA or middle grade or whatever you set your mind to, because I think you're very talented. But second of all, I think it just depends on the story, like the story that you have going in your head. And when I write, it's generally that I think of a plot first, and then I figure out what characters would be best in that plot. And so if I think of a plot that would be best geared towards younger readers or younger characters, that's what determines what age group it's going to be for. So right now, mostly I'm coming up with plots for adult readers, and I haven't come up with a plot for teenage readers in a long time. Just not the way that my brain is working. So that's how I do it. And it just, I don't know. That's just how it is. So I think that it's not that I prefer one or the other. It's just what I think of. And so
sort of the plot first and the story itself.
But see, I know that all writers are different. And I know, for instance, R.L. Stine, who writes the Goosebumps books. He has such a funny process. He thinks of the title first, and then he builds the rest of the book around the title. And I've never met another writer who does that. But and then I know lots of writers who think of the characters first, and then they build the plot around the character. But I've always been plot first, and then characters second. And then the title is like the last thing. And usually, yeah, I know. Like usually I don't even have a title, or like my editor will be like, no, not using that title, would come up with like a title in-house.
Come up with 14 more, please. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? How's your process?
I think just sort of concept first so far is what I've been, when I came up with Well Met, obviously I was volunteering as a tavern wench, and it was such a fun atmosphere, and it was such a crazy atmosphere that I just sort of looked around and I was like, why aren't more rom-coms set here? Like, it just seemed like such a perfect like fodder for like a rom-com situation, especially just, when you're in that costume, you kind of become a different person. It's not even like acting where you have like lines. It's, it's role playing. It's, because you're just playing off of whoever you come across. Yeah. And so I started thinking of an enemies to lovers situation where there's two people who don't like each other, but then when they're in costume, suddenly you're reacting to the way they are, to the person they become in the costume. Yeah. And that was the concept that I then started to build, the first book, Well Met, off of. So it really kind of, to me, is concept first, and then kind of, so who are the characters that are going to make that concept come to life? Right. And then kind of build the rest of the situation around them. So I guess it really is kind of, concept, and then the characters. Yeah. And then plot. I mean, I'm somebody that has to kind of have an outline and know where I'm going while I'm writing. Yeah. And then title last. Title just sort of shows up at some point. I know. Honestly, like Well Met was always the working title. And it was one of those things that I was like, well, somebody's going to make me change this. My agent will make me change this. And then she didn't. Yeah. And then we sent it out on submission and we sold it. And I was like, well, the editor will make me change this. And they didn't. It wasn't until I think maybe the cover came out that I was like, well, I guess this is what we're going with. I guess that's amazing. That's really good. Nobody made me change the title. And then we ended up, and then I ended up just the whole little, like, the series, all being well something. So I think that was actually one of my critique partners suggested that, which I think I can't remember. I think she did come up with Well Played as a title because in the second book, Stacy is sort of is in a Cyrano de Bergerac kind of situation where she's thinks she's writing, talking to one person,
Yeah.
it's really someone else. So she gets played. So
Yeah.
that's where the title came from, Well Played. So
And
then,
Well Matched
and then,
is great.
yeah, and then Well Matched is because the two of them just kind of, are each other's fake dates for things and fake relationships and all of that. So they were matched up together. So
Yeah, but
thought
there's more to it than that, because I thought all the stuff that you did with him working on her house and finding the paint colors. I don't want to give away too much, but that was really clever how you did that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Was good.
I mean, my original title, I wanted to call it Well Hung, but my editor said no immediately.
Oh my God, that would have worked too, though, with the house thing. That would have worked.
She said, please
said
don't
no.
make me say that out loud at a meeting. So those were her exact words.
But that goes a little bit into what we talked about today over Twitter about the Dear Abby letter that somebody wrote today.
Yes. Oh my God.
Apparently, women. There's a woman who's married to a guy a Scotsman who wears kilts, and she has a big problem because I guess women just come up to him and lift up the kilt to see what he's wearing underneath, which is very problematic.
I mean, there's so many levels of how that's problematic.
Do you have a copy of Well Matched sitting around you right now? Because we need to show so look at this. He's wearing a kilt on the cover, and I immediately, of course, I had to contact Jen and be like, this is a huge problem that Mitch in your book could be facing. And is this even true? And of course, Jen was like, yes, it happens. It's not in the book.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm sure that it's true. There's definitely a lot of speculation. And when I've been at Ren fairs, there's definitely speculation as to how, if men are wearing kilts properly. There was one tavern wench that I worked with that offered to be a kilt inspector, and
that's terrible.
And there was one guy that took her up on it, and yes, she did lie on the ground on her back to check. And yes, he was wearing his kilt properly.
It was consensual. It was
fully consensual.
Yes,
but
that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, so to go on to what the Dear Abby letter, like. It to me, like, it kind of falls in line with the whole idea, like, that happens at conventions and conferences and probably Ren fairs. And it's something, there's a slogan that's something like, cosplay doesn't equal consent. Just because you're in a sexy costume doesn't give you the right to be manhandled, basically, or woman handled or person handled in a way that or touched in a way that you do not consent to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a big problem.
Yeah. I had no idea.
But,
when I read that letter today, I was thinking about your book and also in my book, because the book touches on how at festivals and cons, even the more literary kind, there is sexual harassment that occurs sometimes between fans and people in position of power, which is not the same as the cosplay and costume stuff, but my book lightly touches on it. It's not a huge theme, but it's something that has been occurring for years, and it's a problem.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of touched on it in the book, because I felt like if it's going to be a realistic portrayal of what happens at these festivals, it's something that happens. And so it's, it had to be shown where people are, shown doing that. The other thing that I felt really needed to be shown was when the authors get on the author bus very early in the morning and somebody starts singing, and it's usually a male, into the face of one of the female authors who's very tired and has not had her coffee yet. And because that has happened on every author bus I've ever been on. And it's usually a guy with a puppet who has the puppet start singing, like he turns around from the seat. And he's like, good morning, Meg. It's usually me. Good morning, Meg.
Oh, no.
Good morning. And I'm like, oh, my God, I will die. But you have to be polite.
I will literally kill you.
Yeah.
Well, this is good because you've just talked me out of writing for children, so I don't have to be in a situation of where I'm with a guy with a puppet.
It doesn't matter because it will just be like whatever you're writing, some puppeteer will
there's
show
always
up.
somebody.
And this
like
is
that.
not to say anything bad about puppeteers, because there are good puppeteers. There's just usually one.
I have a really good friend who's a puppeteer, but
who doesn't understand boundaries in the morning. And in my book, it's a magician who does it. So it's like not all
Like playing a
puppeteers.
ukulele or something.
Yeah.
Is he
I'm
playing
going to make a
ukulele?
hashtag, not all puppeteers. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God, we've gone totally out of bounds now.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you do the in conversation thing, because
I know.
and neither one of us really should be trusted to.
I know. And this is water, by the way, water. But still.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
Oh
sad.
my gosh. Yeah. Kilts to puppeteers. What is
Yeah.
happening?
Well, what are you gonna do? That's too bad.
Post-pandemic life.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about Florida as a setting, because I
Yes.
used to live in Florida. I lived in Central Florida. And so one thing that really excited me is that you actually shouted out Mount Dora in No Words, and that's where I used to live.
No way!
So
I
lived in
not
Mount
know
Dora
that.
for a very long time, and I love it. It's a great city. It's a perfect place for a dad to retire. I will say that.
Oh,
'Cause
great!
that's where Joe's trying to talk her dad into retiring too.
Yeah, you guys. They have a ton of concerts there, a ton of festivals.
Yes,
Mount
it is
Dora.
like one of the biggest arts festivals in the country, and
Yeah.
craft festivals. It's a smallish town. It's probably, when I lived there, it was probably somewhere between like 15,000-20,000 people. It's not a huge city or anything, but at one point they were doing a like a contest for a new like town city slogan or something, and my contribution was any excuse for a festival, because they seemed to come up with like,
That's actually good.
it was like anything. There was like a seafood festival, there was a harvest moon, full moon festival,
I
something.
swear to God, I looked it
They
up.
were just
I know
anything.
people who have retired there and they love it.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
Oh, it's
okay,
great,
so this
yeah.
is where her dad's going to retire, because I know so many people who love it there. And I looked it up on Wikipedia, and that's literally what they said about
Yeah.
so many festivals. So I was like, oh, good. He will love it there.
Yeah. It's a really cool place. I highly recommend it. It's just northwest of Orlando. If anybody ever is in that area, I highly recommend it. It's a really, really cool town. But I was so excited. I was like, yay, when I read that in your book. I was so excited to see it.
I have to admit, I've not been there, but I know so many people who are giving it so many thumbs up as a place to go and retire.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going, heading to Mount Dora. Excellent healthcare, lots of festivals.
Yeah. Well, and
affordable.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was one of the reasons that was our, we lived in Orlando at the time, and it was time to buy a house. We were like, kept going further and further out of the city until we found what we can afford.
Yeah. Oh,
and it was this great little, like, it's very, especially like the little downtown area is very like historic, and very Mayberry kind of.
That's so funny.
It was. I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I just loved that you said that. But so then, why did you decide to set like Little Bridge Island is completely fictional, right?
Yes.
Or is it like a fictional version of Key West?
It is.
Like, it's not really Key West.
No. It's fiction. It's a fictional version. I did not want to say. I should have. And now everybody is telling me that I should have said it. And everybody who lives in Key West is like, why didn't you just set it in Key West? Because I wanted to change some of the things that I was doing in the town. For instance, they don't have a police department. They have a sheriff's office.
Right.
In Key West, they have both. So I didn't want to make it complete. And there were like actual reasons, but of course I don't remember now because of pandemic brain. I don't know why.
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why, but at the time there was a really important reason why it had to be that way. And so I just was like, well, I can't make it Key West. And I wish now that I had not done that, but there's nothing I can do because it's done. So it's just
there's kind of a freedom in kind of creating your own
town. I think so. And I mean, I did it with Genovia, which is a fake country in the Princess Diaries.
Right.
And I'm really glad I did that because, I had to make a fake royal family. So I just was like, I'll just make a fake key in the Florida Keys. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. But now I've had so much fun making up these businesses. But I'm like, it would be a lot more fun to actually put my real friends who own businesses in this book and see them get like either mad or excited. But no, so that's why I did it.
Well, that's always kind of the danger too, is that you put somebody real like that, or put like a real business or a real city or a real anything in a book, and either people will get mad or people will nitpick you.
But Willow Creek is not real, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so you did the same thing. Fictional. So what was your reason for that?
It's just basically wanting to just make up a town. I have a sort of a specific idea of where it is. It's in Maryland. It's sort of in that I have some really good friends who live in They used to live in Damascus, Maryland, which
Okay.
is, I want to say, Montgomery County. Kind of not far from like sort of where the wine country parts of
Yeah.
Maryland are. And I love those like back roads in the small towns that kind of
Oh
are in
yeah.
them. And so that was just sort of, I wanted to just make up my little town and just plop it right there somewhere.
Yeah, and I can tell you, as somebody who's been doing this for a really long time, when you set something in a real place, if you get anything wrong, you do get mail from people.
I would think
tell
so.
you,
Yeah,
you got it wrong. So sometimes it's best to just make something up so you can avoid hearing from people who are like, by the way, you got this wrong, and they're right. They're almost always right, and so you just get to avoid that.
Well, God,
just
yeah.
make it up.
I mean, it would just be, it's just a lot easier to make it your own, make it your own place. And then you can, can populate it the way that you want to.
Exactly.
But Florida is such a fun place to set a story because Florida is such a weird place to live. And there's so much there's so much like diversity, like just ecological diversity in Florida, where like Central Florida isn't the same as like Miami, isn't the same as the Keys, and then you've got North. And it's it's such an interesting place to be.
Yeah, no, it is. And I love it. I never thought I would end up living here. Like my dad is from Miami. My whole, that side of the family, they're all from my dad went to my Coral Gables High and went to my University of Miami for college. So I feel like in a way I am from here. But yeah, I never thought I would end up back here, but I do love it. It's I feel like it's in my blood and I get it. I get Florida, man. Like I get it.
Yeah,
I don't want to be that guy, but I get it.
We just moved away from there a year ago, and it's neat to be in a different part of the country. But I miss Publix. I gotta say, I miss Publix fried chicken, man. You're not gonna get that anywhere else.
It's a great place. It's great, but it's also horrible. And of course, I don't want to bring politics into it, but I feel like I have to stay here so I can vote against so many things that are happening here.
Yeah.
It's my job now. I just gotta stay here and try to combat the things that are happening here. And
I can get on board with that. That makes sense. So one thing that I wanted to bring up, so I admit that like I knew that you had written a lot of books, obviously, but I didn't know how many. And so then when I Googled you, which I hate to say because it sounds so dirty, but I did, and to see how many books you'd written, and then I blacked out briefly when I saw how many books you've written because I'm just so I'm so in awe of that as I'm like on book 3, myself. But how like when you like Google something and then it gives you like these alternative questions or like related questions to this topic, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So when you Google Meg Cabot, one of the questions is Meg Cabot a princess? So I think that maybe we need to answer this question.
That's a good one. I've seen that one. I like it.
Have you seen that before?
I have. I'm not saying I like to Google myself, but sometimes because I'm working on stuff that's so old, I forget like what.
Oh God!
So like if I'm going back to work on Princess Diaries, I'm like, oh my God, what is her name again? And so like I have to Google it myself. Yeah. And then like a lot of the times it's wrong, so then that doesn't help. But yeah, so I've seen like, is Genovia a real country? Like, oh my God. So I've seen that frequently, and there are answers that say yes, it is. It's fantastic. So many kids have probably gotten F's because they've written that Genovia is a real country. It's so sad.
Or like want to do a paper for school on Genovia.
Exactly. They've written a paper on Genovia as a real country. No, I am not a real princess, but I think that came around because it does actually say on the back of some of my books that I'm waiting for my real parents, the king and queen, to come and get me, like as a joke, and then that is. Younger readers may have misinterpreted that as
may have taken that a little too literally.
Yeah, that it's sarcastic. Yeah, and they think that it's real, which I love. I think it's so sweet that they didn't quite get that was being sarcastic. So, yeah, it's sweet.
Well, I'm sad that you're not a real princess, but I think you probably wouldn't be living, in Florida if you were.
Oh, yes, I would. If I were really waiting, if I were waiting for my real parents to find me. Yeah, why not?
Key West is a good place to wait.
Sure. I'm going to say it is. Where else are you going to be? I like Arizona too, though. So,
It's nice. It's actually really cool. It was weird when we first got here just because of all of the mountains.
Yeah.
We're in Tucson, so there's just
I
mountains
love
everywhere.
Tucson. Yeah.
And having lived in Florida for so long, like I was not used to mountains.
Yeah.
So we were
Certainly.
actually, when we first got here, like the week after we got here, we were like waiting in line to get into a Trader Joe's because of course it was, everybody's 6 feet apart and,
Yeah.
limited people in the grocery store. And we're just sort of hanging out and we're looking, there's this mountain range, like across at the other end of the
Wow.
parking lot, out in the distance. And we're looking at it and my husband just goes, I'm waiting for a log flume to come shooting out. Like, because our frame of reference was like
Yeah.
Disney,
Yeah.
And so he was totally, I'm like, I don't think that's Splash Mountain. I think it's
No,
an actual
it's a
mountain.
real
Like, it's
mountain.
an actual, yeah.
So
So we've
cool.
been getting used to that, and
Great.
it's been amazing though. And we did especially during the pandemic stuff, we did a lot of we explored state parks and
Oh,
hiking
yeah.
trails and
Great.
outdoorsy stuff that you can do in the winter because
Yeah.
you're in a temperate climate
So
and you probably got out a lot in the winter time too.
You got a lot of sunshine, so that's great.
Oh yeah, a lot of sunshine.
Wear your sunscreen.
Lots. Oh my God, so much. A lot of, and it's actually where the sun is just starting to set.
I know,
so
I'm
it's coming in and
enjoying
making
seeing
me look
this.
really weird.
I'm enjoying that. It looks very sunny. It's dark here now.
Very
so.
sunny. It's very sunny. Yeah, we're about 4:40 in the afternoon right now. So
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
which is another thing I'm still getting used to because there's a lot of math involved in living in Arizona because our time zones don't change. So like when you with we don't what am I trying to say? Daylight savings. We don't do that. So yeah.
I love it. Stay stubbornly resistant to it. I
think
that.
it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I really do. I think more people should do it.
There's no reason for it. I mean, anymore. There used to be, but now it's like, why? Why do we even have it? It's dumb.
Yeah. So what have you been reading lately?
Well, I've been reading a little book called Well Matched by Jen DeLuca.
Yeah.
That was great. I loved it. It was so warm-hearted and adorable.
Oh my God.
And
so nice.
it's just feel good. I mean, I love just a feel good read where, you just get to be like, oh, that was great.
Those kinds of books have definitely been getting me through.
Yeah.
Like these pandemic times, it's a lot of people I think are turning to romance and to more lighthearted books.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
So that's been good. And then I think I'm going to do the Hillary Clinton book next. She wrote with Louise Penny, State of Terror. I'm going to do a total 180 from the warm, fuzzy, feel good, well matched, and do some terror. So
excellent. I think that's a great plan. How
about you?
I just started reading The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, so I'm
good.
very excited to read it. So good. Her books are the best. I adore her.
All right. I think we're going to do some audience.
Yep.
Here she is.
Amanda's here.
I just pop in like a horrifying puppeteer.
Don't sing in my face.
I promise I would never without explicit consent. But I'm going to read some of the audience questions for you guys. The first one is from Emma, who wants to know, I believe this is for Meg, did you fully plot out Will's book as well, or just the main scenes used in the book?
So yes, there is a book within a book in this book, and it is the hero's book, or the anti-hero. And yes, I did fully plot out his book. In fact, there is a lot more to his book than even appears in this book. And my editor was like, that's quite enough. We don't need more of Will's book. There is too much of Will's book in this book, because Will is he's a very sad writer. He writes trauma. I like to call it trauma porn. And his book is very sad and serious. And and that's kind of why Joe doesn't like him, because Joe believes that stories should have happy endings and, be very cheerful for people who are having, a hard time in their lives. Kind of, I think, like Jen and I write books that are more uplifting and warm-hearted. But Will does not believe that. So his books, I had a great time writing Will's horrible, sad sack, awful, in my opinion, book. And I actually did write almost, not the whole thing, but really a lot of pivotal scenes that have, dying people and gunfire, and there's a shooting at a wedding. And my editor was like, no, take it out. So I did promise I was going to post it on my website. So I forgot to do that. I will be, for those of you who love that kind of stuff.
I love books within books, though.
The blood dripping from the bride's gown will be on there.
That's amazing. I love that kind of stuff. I love books within books, like because then you learn so much about like that author character and
If
that sort
you
of thing. So I
want
love that stuff.
to.
Well,
Yeah. No, I agree. I love it. I love it too. I think you can never have enough, but apparently you
that's
can.
fun. Apparently you can. Your editor says otherwise. Yeah.
She's like, no. Very nice, but no.
So our next question comes from Emily Susan, who asks, Megan and Jen, what would you recommend on Netflix or Hulu? It's a fun question.
Oh, wow.
I suppose you could probably put another streaming service if you're watching like exclusively Peacock content. I'm sure she'd be fine with that.
Oh my God.
Well, I was gonna say this is probably, I don't know if I would recommend this necessarily for people to do, but I did it. For some reason I decided to watch the entire run of Top Chef, which was 17 seasons. It took me most of the summer. Yeah. Although if my editor is watching, I didn't do that. I was writing the whole time. Right. But yeah, it was actually really interesting to do because I had never seen the show, but I like cooking shows like Chopped and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, let me watch Top Chef. This will be fun. And it was really interesting because, it's 17 years of this show. And so these people were using like flip phones and stuff at the beginning. And they're like trying to, like they're like splitting up to like, get supplies from the grocery store and stuff. And they're having to text each other. And it's like, oh, I wish I could send him a picture. And I'm just like, oh my God, like just wait a few years, buddy. And then, so it goes from like that to the very last episode, the finale of the last episode that they had on streaming was season 17. It was filmed in Italy. And it was basically like right before the pandemic. So like they what's his name? Tom, the head judge guy even comes on like on a Zoom, like obviously like a Zoom, footage. And it's like, well, we just filmed the finale in Italy right before everything happened and blah, blah, blah. So it was just really interesting to go from flip phones all the way through to the pandemic. So it was in the course of one summer. So that was interesting. So I would recommend that. That's always, I'm sort of starting to get into bad reality TV.
Oh God,
which has never been my thing.
Yeah, but I think we kind of needed that during the, I went the opposite direction. And I've been watching Evil. Have you guys heard of Evil? It's on Netflix and then also on Paramount Plus. It's a show about these people who've been hired by the Catholic Church. Oh God, it's so scary to determine whether or not people are possessed by the devil. And I love it so much. It's so good. And then, so the first couple seasons are on Netflix right now. And then the new season is on Paramount Plus. And I can't watch it at night. I have to watch it during the day. And my husband refuses to watch it because it's too scary. It's super good. And then the other show that my husband and I never watched before, I don't know why, we never watched Law and Order SVU. So we just started watching
There's so much of that to watch.
I know. I was thinking about while you were talking about Top Chef, because I'm like, oh my God, it's just like Law and Order SVU, because like in the early 2000s when it started, they were using the flip phones, and Olivia and Elliot are like, we got to use a payphone like to call back to the office because we got to catch this, sex crime murderer. It's so, I love it. Oh my God. Everyone's now like, wait, you never watched this show? And I'm like, yeah, it's on every 5 seconds. And we're just watching it now. And we're catching up with Elliot and Olivia. Will they have sex? I don't know. It's 20 years later and we still don't know. It's the best.
Everybody else knows.
Everyone else knows. Right. Don't tell me. No spoilers.
I will delete spoilers from the chats, everyone.
Yeah, I do
not
look them up, so I don't know. It's fantastic. We love it. We're like, did you see the one? No, don't tell me.
Well, speaking of Netflix, Sarah Dupont is asking if there's any updates on the Mediator Netflix adaptation.
Yes.
Ooh.
I think there is. I just see that I just got an email from them, but I can't check it right now. We're working on it. I don't know. It's going to take a while. We've got to get the writer director is working on another film right now. And then hopefully right after that, we will start on it. But no, we haven't started on it yet, but we have a script and it's great.
That's exciting. People don't usually say yes when you ask if there's any update on their blank series for television or movies. That's always a fun change for a question.
Yeah, usually it's like, no.
It's been 5 years. There's nothing. This is how this works.
No. I mean, hopefully the email isn't like, no, by the way,
Right.
they canceled it. But no.
Yeah, we'll all feel bad though together if that's what the email says. So. Now Kara Emig says, "Hey, my name's Kara. I'm here with my sister Lee. That we're from Maryland, and we're more than happy to take you guys to the Maryland Ren Fair. It's a great Ren Fair. That's the one I went to.
Oh, yay!
Yes. Maryland Ren Fair. Oh my God, it's so much fun. I was very close to going. They invited me. There's actually a bookstore at the Maryland Renaissance Festival, which I did not know until the book came out, until the one that came out. But they invited me to come and do like a signing during but it was like but I had to commit to it like back in like May or so, and things were still kind of uncertain, and I was like, I don't know if I can travel. So I had to say no, but I'm hopeful that I can go back soon, because that would be, that would be so much fun to go back. I did actually take a trip up to Wisconsin and went to the Bristol Renaissance Festival a couple months ago, and that was so much fun. It was just so nice to be out in that atmosphere again. It was like a little bit of a desperation. I was having writer's block. I needed to get out, like we were talking about earlier. And that change of scenery definitely helped a lot.
Oh my God. It sounds so much fun. Do they really have jousts? That's what I wanted to know.
Oh yeah.
After reading your book, there's really jousts.
On horses.
I need to see that.
Armor.
They're amazing.
Oh, you do. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Highly recommend.
All right.
But the second half of what Kara said was, what's one piece of advice you'd give to new writers? You pick your one piece.
Oh my God.
I know. One piece. I would say find a community. Find your community. It's very, very hard to write alone. I did that for a long time, where I was writing, and I would try to write a story, and I would write things, but I wouldn't grow as a writer because I wasn't sharing my writing with other people. It helps so much to just find a community of other writers. Some are ahead of me in the journey, and some are behind me in the journey, and we all help each other. And it's really good just to sort of have that group, that private group of people, especially if you're on social media and you want to complain about things. It's better to complain in private than in public. But yeah, it's so helpful, and you just learn so much, and you grow so much, not just having other people read your writing, but reading other people's writing as well. Because when you learn how to critique other people's writing and help them become better writers, you're also helping yourself become a better writer. So that's something that I really believe.
Yeah, and learning to critique kindly and helpfully, not being, mean. And I think that I would add that would also help you to meet deadlines, because that's something that people really need to learn. Taking a writing workshop, I think, can really help, because that at the very least helps you to figure out how to turn something in when it's due, which is something a lot of writers struggle with. And then also what you said, learning how to take criticism in the spirit with which it's given, and not taking it so personally, I think is really important. Because a lot of times I hear from writers who say, if I ever hear from an editor that they want me to change something, I will never do it. And that's not a healthy attitude, because the editor only wants to help make your work better. They're not trying to make it into their own. They're just trying to make it better. So I think that's really important. And, not being super shy about getting your work out there is important. But the other piece of writing that I would say is to read a lot. Just read as much as you can, and read all sorts of things, because that will help make you into a better writer too.
And you can buy all of those books to read at One More Page Books.
Yes, and buy your books at one more page. Yeah,
that's the third piece of advice for all new writers. Buy your books at One More Page. They have special writing juice in them.
Absolutely.
Jess Lyons wants to know, she says, I have a question. You both work so closely with settings you're familiar with, Key West and Ren Fairs, and I wonder what challenges come from working with places you know so well, which is, I think, a little different from what you guys talked about before, about like the challenges of working with the things you do know, not just the changing of things.
I actually think it's really important to write about places that you know, just because I have written about places that I didn't know so well, and I got mail. And I wrote about a whole book that was set in Alaska one time, and I got so much mail from people who live in Alaska who were not happy about what I wrote and told me that it was inaccurate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so if you're going to write about a place that you don't know, you should really, really research it, or at least go there. Now, we have Google Earth, so you can really kind of look at it, but you don't get the flavor of a place. I think it's really important to go to the place and smell it and feel it. I think that really helps, or at least talk to somebody who's been there and can give you those kinds of sensations, because that's going to make your writing that much better. I don't know, Jen, what do you think?
No, I think that you're completely right on all of that. I think as far as like the challenge of writing something that you know so well is, and this may sound weird, but to me, it's actually making it come across, because you're so familiar with it that you've got to remember that you're sharing it with people who don't know it. And so you've got to tell, really share, like, this is what I think is so special about it. This is what being at a Renaissance fair looks like, smells like, sounds like.
Yeah.
And try to really bring the person to that place. But when it's something that you're so familiar with, that you've been there so many times, you're just like, oh, and I went to the Renaissance fair. And somebody would be like, I don't know what that means, So you really do have to kind of remember that you're bringing readers in that may not necessarily know what you're talking about. So that to me is kind of a challenge, and especially as I'm working on a fourth book in the series, where I'm like, we've been to the Renaissance fair now for, I've been doing this for 3 books, and I feel like, so I've caught myself, just sort of writing, kind of skimming over description, and then I'm like, well, no, because there could be somebody who's brand new to this series that is going to want to be taken to that place and really have the sensory experiences. So I've got to remember to put them in. So I think maybe that's probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you both excel at that. So I
always
Play writes the Keys, or to the Ren Fair, or to Bloomington, Indiana, a place I've never been, but I feel like I know very well.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
Tova Rich says, hey Meg, have we met the main character yet in any of the other Little Bridge books? And then she says, it's my birthday on Friday, so the delay means no words. My birthday present to myself. Happy birthday, Tova.
Oh, happy birthday. Oh, that's so sweet.
Almost birthday twins, Tova. I'm on Sunday.
Oh, that's great. So sweet.
So have we met the main character? Have we met Joe in a previous Little Bridge?
Oh, no.
Okay.
These are completely new. The only characters that we've met before, Molly the librarian is giving the book festival, and we met her in the last book, no offense. And there will be a couple surprise characters that you will recognize. But no, Joe and Will, who are the main characters, are completely new, and you will not have met them before. So most of the characters are new.
So cameo too.
Yeah, so that makes it kind of very easy to read as a standalone.
I love it. And then Emily Susan says, the question is for both of you. Jen, who's your favorite love interest in the Well series? And Meg, who's your favorite love interest in the Little Bridge Island series? And I apologize just for reading that question, because I know it's hard. But
oh my God. Don't make me choose.
I mean, I'll choose Simon if I have to. But. But you know how I feel about that pirate, so that's kind of a personal thing.
I love me a pirate, and that was the reason why the love interest in my first book was a pirate. And I will say that there was recently Pop Sugar put Well Met in a little listicle or an article about books that are sexy or whatever, and I kind of flipped back through, and they included a little excerpt, and I went through it, and I kind of glanced back at my book, and I was like, oh yeah, he was pretty. He did kind of do it. Yeah, good for him, man. I can't choose. There's no way that I could possibly choose. I mean, so I've been told that Simon in a lot of ways is a gender flipped me, which is pretty funny. Just because I'm very, I guess I'm really,
you got the English teacher turned into pirate vibe.
I don't become a sexy pirate, but just as far as a lot of my mannerisms and my tendency to make lists and be an absolute nerd. But I don't know. I kind of put little bits of myself in all of my characters, so it's very hard to choose favorites. It just is, because then it's choosing a favorite part of myself, and then I feel like I let the other characters down if I don't choose them. So
yeah.
But that said, writing Mitch was so much fun. It was so much fun to take this side character comic relief and turn him into a romance hero. It was so much fun to do. When I sat down to really start writing this book, I was so excited to write it. I was like, this is going to be hilarious. Mitch and April are going to be so funny together. And I sat down, I was like, oh my God, I have to write this. How am I going to do this? But his voice was so much fun to write. And it was just fun to turn him into a romance hero, to take somebody that you don't expect to be that kind of character and make him into that. So that was really, it was a great time.
No, I think I agree with you. I mean, I can't really speak to the other books because I don't remember them because of pandemic brain. But I liked Mitch the best. I thought he was so sweet. He's a PE teacher and he loves kids and he's such a goofball, but then he's got such a heart of gold. And, you know, he's a younger man for April and she's such a good mom. I thought he was so great. They're my favorite. I choose well-matched couple.
I mean, they're all great.
They're all great, but
as it is with yours, Meg.
He won my heart. And obviously I choose the couple in this book because they're writers and they have no words, but then they find their words, hopefully.
And it all comes together.
Yeah.
We have title.
They have their disagreements, but they very much hate to love. And hopefully they're going to be okay by the end of the book. So yeah.
Hopefully.
I choose our most recent books because we worked so hard on them during a pandemic.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Damn it.
But they're here and they're beautiful. We just got a question from Emily, and then we're going to have to call it a night. But Emily wants to know quickly, Meg, if we'll ever get to hear from Heather Wells again, because she misses her terribly. As we all do. I love Heather Wells.
So sweet. Thank you. I feel like Heather was in a really good place by the end of her last book, you know? So I think that she's doing okay. But I do wonder, like, how she handled the pandemic. I wonder how everybody handled the pandemic. So that's why I'm excited that I think I found some more diary entries for Princess Mia that we may be hearing from her soon. So that's probably, if you're going to hear from anything from me next, that's probably what you're going to hear from me. But what are we going to hear from you, Jen, after, you do have a new book coming out, so it's a little mean to say, like, what's coming after this? But what are you working on next?
I am working on book 4 in the series. So you'll find out more about that when you read book 3, because there's a little teaser in the back. So so I'm not talking about it a whole lot yet. I'm waiting until like the book is out before I really start talking about the next one. And then I am not sure what's next.
You can take a break.
Thinking, so
you deserve it.
Pandemic brain definitely got overloaded, I think, in these last few months. So after that, I have some ideas, and I'm one of those people that says, okay, I'm not going to write for 6 months, and then I will, 3 weeks later, I'm halfway through a draft or something. Like I've started something else. So
break.
Usually when I tell my brain not to do, that I'm not going to do something, it immediately starts coming up with ideas. So I've been completely I've had nothing, like no ideas. And then all of a sudden I've had a few lately that I've been jotting down some notes and just some character names and some situations and stuff. So we'll see if any of those kind of come together and become a thing.
Well, it sounds like you're recovering.
Getting there. I think so.
Yay. Go to Vegas. Have some fun in Vegas.
I will. I'm very excited about it. Gonna make a lot of money now.
Yes, perfect. To live the dream writer life of completely self-funded mansions.
Yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Well, it's been so lovely to have you all here. This has been an absolute joy. And thank you to everyone who's watched at home. It's been great having you all here. Meg, Jen, any final words?
Well, just thank you so much. That's, I think, our final words. Thank you for coming.
This has been so much fun. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been a great time.
Yes, and I put the buy link in the chat. It's on Facebook and YouTube. So wherever you're watching this, it's there. Buy these amazing books. And we have signed book plates at the store, and they're really fun. And so are the books. So buy lots of both. It's a great Christmas gift. They currently exist in the store, which is not the case for many books in the world. So just buy these. Give them to everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. Buy these books now because they actually exist.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's signs.
That cookie coupon for your mother-in-law, you can't get it. Buy these. It's easier and it's cheaper. So just do it.
Yay.
All right. Thank you guys. And thank you all for coming to One More Page. We have more events coming up, so check out our website and have a great night. Bye.
Bye, you guys.